Welcome back to the County Seat. Our topic today has been issues of grazing. We have so far in the hour been talking about rotational time-controlled grazing. We're going to kind of broaden this conversation while we have our guests here. Introducing them again, Bill Hopkin, who's the director of the Utah Grazing Improvement Program. Bill, thank you so much for taking time today. Was it a long drive to get here?
Just from the Department of Ag.
I'm going to ask the same question to our second guest, Alvin Schall, who is the chairman of the Three Creeks Grazing Association. You had a little bit more of a drive, didn't you?
Yeah, but I had a good driver, the commissioner.
Who would be Norman Weston, who's a Rich County Commissioner. Norman, thank you for spending some time with us today.
Thanks for having us.
That's great. One of the big problems that always comes up with ranchers in the West that the guys in the East just don't get is that, one, they don't have the rainfall, and so trying to improve yield is always a big issue in the West because we have such limited water resources. I mean, I've talked to ranchers back east that you know they'll run 16 head on 500 acres and they can sustain them because it rains all the time. But it's a different story out here. The other one is that when you're grazing on public land, you've got to have permission to do it. You know, tell us a little bit, Alvin, about the renewal or the AUMs in your grazing permits.
Well, 10 years ago, the environmentalists approved the renewal of our BLM and forest permits. And so we hired a lawyer, Karen Bud Fallon, to try to change their minds, and we got our permits renewed. Our renewal is due this coming year, and they are also appealing our renewal of our permits.
What is their basis? When environmentalists take this on, what's their basis for saying that you shouldn't be grazing out there?
Well, it'd probably be the overgrazing their ground and poor management, and the watersheds are in poor conditions. That's their story. Okay, so Bill, my question for you. What you just told me about rotational grazing and time-controlled grazing, didn't we just take most of those arguments the environmentalists use out of the picture and deflate their sales?
Well, I don't know how much you deflate their sales because...
No, we're not talking about self-image. We're talking about their sales.
Well, you know, for some folks, and I need to say that for this Three Creeks proposal, we have a bunch of the environmental community who are on board with us, who have actually written letters of support. However, there are some who basically want livestock gone from the range. And so it isn't just an issue of resource health. You know, they want livestock gone. So,
but that would actually be more of a recreational preference, though, than actually being concerned about the quality of the land, would it not?
Probably.
Okay,
yes.
That's opinion on my part. I don't want to put a state official
well, we'd have to ask
on
them.
the spot. Yes, there's a good answer. So, are you anticipating that, even though you're being challenged again, that your defense is going to be a little bit better because of this program and how well it's worked?
Oh yes, it'll be entirely. It really will help, and you know, we've already kind of started the program and developed more water, and I think it's helped a bunch. That's about, you know, we spent the last 2 years, $200,000 in developing water and springs to distribute the cattle on the ridges and to help the situation.
How long does it, I mean, and this is a curious question, on your AUMs, are they contiguous? Or do you actually, when the buzzer goes off and they have to move to a new dance partner, do the cows actually have to be trucked in, or do you just open the gate and they move next door?
We open the gates and herd them in.
Okay, yeah. So these AUMs are all contiguously situated, so they're actually one big block of land, because that did cross my mind that you know, if you have to ship them across town to the next dance, that could get expensive.
The unit is 143,000 acres total. About 33,000, as I recall, is BLM. No, 60-some thousand, I can't remember for sure. 33, I think, is Forest Service or Sitla land. And then the permittees in an association in a company own about 29,000 acres of private land. It's all used in exchange of use.
You raised a very interesting issue here, though, because you talked about developing water. I mean, you may have an issue if you start to segment AUMs or grazing areas in this of having you got to have water in each section. So it isn't just a matter of taking a big chunk of land and drawing pie charts in it and saying, okay, let's run a fence into the center and we'll just move them around the clock. I mean, there are costs involved in setting this up, then, aren't there?
Mm-hmm. I can let Bill. He knows more about the
well,
financial.
it's a big deal.
It's over $2 million.
Yeah, you got to have enough water in every pasture to water 1,600 animals.
Okay, so let's take hypothetically Kane County or Garfield County. They have issues with AUMs. They have environmentalists trying to cut back, or they're trying to buy back AUMs and grazing permits. How do they address those? I mean, what are some of the mechanical things you do to actually put water into each segment?
Well, there are a lot of things you can do. In our program, we do a lot of that. But you can drill wells, put in storage tanks, and then run pipelines. You can develop springs. You can actually, but of course you have to have water rights to do that. Or you can take water out of a stream, pump it into a storage tank, and then gravity flow it, through miles and miles of pipeline. There'll be 88 miles of pipeline in this project.
Wow. That's I guess that is a significant infrastructure development. That leads me to another question. I don't know if I've been hearing this in our different topics as I go around the state and talk about land issues, but I have been hearing that there's some pressure by the Forest Service and I haven't been able to document any of it yet, that they are actually holding hostage the cessation of water rights in exchange for renewal of grazing permits. Have you heard any of this at all?
Well, I don't know a lot about that, but where that usually crops up is when you go to do a water project like we're talking about that's on Forest Service land. And what my understanding is they're demanding that they share in ownership of that water right. And of course the waters in Utah are owned by the state and individuals and companies and so forth show beneficial use and have a water right. Now, if Alvin wants to develop a spring on Forest Service that he has a water right to, the Forest Service wants part of that water right.
That seems a little bit troubling to me. But it's probably a conversation for another day.
It is.
But I just wondered if that had actually been out there in it. Have you had any difficulties with your group as far as getting the water developed on it?
Well, we've been trying to improve the existing water lines, and that's how we've kind of got around it. Randolph Land and Livestock, they own probably, 90%
Of the water.
Of the water on the springs.
Okay. Does the Randolph group, are they the ones that built the reservoir over in Wyoming? There's a big rancher reservoir across the way there.
Woodruff Narrows.
Woodruff Narrows. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different company.
Okay. Yeah. Nice lake. I like to fish there. Not many people know about it, but
You can catch them by hand now because it's about this high. Slow.
That's good. A little net fishing late in the season is a great way to go. It looks like you almost are on top of saying something here.
No, I just was turning that. This gives you some figures of some of the costs that they've got in their budget. Is that okay to show that?
Sure.
So it really is almost $2 million. What is going to be the hardest part to accomplish here as you put all this water stuff together?
Well, actually, I don't see that we will have a big issue acquiring the money to help do that. The permittees are, You know, they've got skin in the game. They're going to have to pick up at least 12.5% of the total cost, which is a lot of money.
Yeah.
But you know, one of the nice things about being able to put together a large landscape scale plan that will impact a big area to the good is that, you know, partners then show up with money to help provide the money for the infrastructure. So our program will, Division of Wildlife is committed to help with this, NRCS and others. One of the bigger challenges is once you get it in is maintaining it. You know, it's pretty costly to maintain. And, you know, if you look at this in comparison to Deseret, Deseret had the opportunity to increase stocking rate to help pay for those costs. Right. These guys don't have that opportunity because they're on public land.
Oh, I hear
so as we improve other ecological values, then we hope others will step up, and some have.
Oh, very good. Well, we'll be right back with more of the county seat in just a minute. Stay with us.